Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for being out here this morning. I know it's early, but I appreciate it. It's a beautiful, beautiful day in Galveston. So I want to talk to you about what Houston's been doing really to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. I mean, that's why most of you are here. This is the work that you do. This is the work not only of Houston, Galveston, Texas, United States, but internationally. What are we doing to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions? And sometimes it feels we're doing a lot, and then we look at the numbers and we feel like we're not doing a lot. But I think that I'm a firm believer in the fact that cities, particularly big cities, are really the places where innovation and work is really happening to try to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and the things that we do can be modeled not only in other cities, but hopefully in states and countries. So I'm going to talk to you about what we've been doing. Happy to take questions later. It'll be kind of a high-level overview of many of our initiatives that we've been working on for the past 2 years, and some a little bit longer than that, and some very, very recently. So just a quick overview of where our greenhouse gas emissions come from in Houston. It's not surprising that we're a city of air conditioning and a city of freeways. That is starting to change a little bit, but that's mostly what we have. And so our greenhouse gas emissions come from building energy usage and from transportation. We're a bit higher in these categories than other cities simply because we are a very hot city, we have lots of air conditioning, and we are a sprawling city. And we still, even though we're working very hard to change that, and I'll talk about it, we still have many people that drive by themselves, to work and lots of other places. So what are we doing in these two areas to try to reduce these greenhouse gas emissions? So let's talk about building energy usage. We believe that, to be a leader in this area, that government has to actually be the model. We have to walk the talk. We have to show that if we can do it, you can do it. So Houston embarked a couple years ago on a very comprehensive energy efficiency program for all of our municipal buildings, from City Hall that you see there to we're actually now at about 100 buildings that have had energy efficiency retrofits. We've spent about $57 million. Represents about 5 million, just over 5 million square feet. We have, on average, 30% energy reduction. Our payback, on average, is less than 10 years. And we are doing more. We just finished our park and rec buildings, about 25 of those. And our next tranche is going to be about 25 libraries, and we're going to use QECB bonds, which I don't think actually any city in Texas has actually used them yet. But we are going to be the first to use qualified energy conservation bonds. And that's, for those of you, I'm sure most of you know what that is, but it's, it's a way to borrow money at a very, very low interest rate, 1.5%, 2% money. But you've got to show, energy savings in buildings. And we think we can do that. So we're going to use those for the next tranche. So on the municipal side, we've done a great job on energy efficiency. We also then, said we want to help residents and we want to help the private sector. So our residential energy efficiency program, called REAP, was a grant-funded program, and we spent $23 million. We've helped 13,000 Houstonians and counting. And we go in and do everything for the customer. We go into their home, we do an audit, we see what the audit says, and then we actually do the work. And again, the energy savings have been phenomenal. The savings in their bills have been phenomenal. This program was started, actually, I don't know where Gavin Dillingham is, but he's in the room. He works for HARC now, and he started this program at the City of Houston for us, and we've kept it going extremely strong. We actually used all our grant money earlier this year, and we have now a partnership with CenterPoint, which has been really wonderful, and they are going to give us money to continue our program, not only the rest of this year, but into next year, because it has been an extremely successful program. We have very high customer satisfaction. And it's been hard. Some cities lost this money. A number of cities across the U.S. actually got money to do this. It's very hard to go into people's homes and say, we want to help you reduce your energy bill. They don't really believe you. And so we had to do, interesting things to figure out how to do this. We had block parties. We talked to, neighborhood leaders, opinion leaders in the neighborhood to get to win their trust and to have them then talk to their neighbors about how this was a really good thing. We also then went into multifamily, which is easier, because once you had a landlord that was supportive, it was easier to go into these units and get this work done. So we spent a lot of money in a short amount of time and are now continuing it because it was a successful program. We also worked on single family, on new construction. So we have a builder incentive called our 5-Star Energy Program, and we give builders incentives to build affordable housing with very low HERS rating. Actually, the HERS ratings are coming in, we said they had to be 60 or lower, but they're actually coming in between 10 and 20, which is pretty amazing. And they also have to put in renewable energy on their homes. And obviously, this is one of our homes with solar panels on it. Extremely successful program. People are clamoring for more of these homes. One of our families' bill, just over the summer was like $30 a month, which is, phenomenal for Houston. And so we're trying to find ways to get some more money to build more of these homes. Our green, and also on our residential, I want to touch on residential construction for a second. One other thing that we've done, and Sheila Blake, who's in the audience right here, I want to credit her with this work. We are, I think we're the only city in the state, she'll correct me if I'm wrong, for residential construction, for new construction, we have passed legislation last year that puts new construction has to be 5% above the state energy code, more energy efficient. So that was a hard-fought battle. The battle is going to continue because the way we wrote the legislation is that it was 5% in 2011, and we are set to try to increase that to 10% above the state energy code this year. And then again, next year, we're going to try to do it another 5% to put us at 15% above the 2009 code, which would make us at the level of the 2012 code, which would be fantastic. So instead of being 3 years behind, we'd actually be mostly caught up. So that was a lot of work, and we really, really want to try to be leaders in residential energy efficiency, particularly in new construction. Let me talk about green buildings. Done a lot of work to green our buildings, not just do energy efficiency, but do everything. We have legislation that says every municipal building has to be LEED Silver or higher, every retrofit or new building. We've built many LEED buildings. I think we're upwards of like 20 now. We have firehouses, all kinds of different buildings. We have a brand new a retrofit of a beautiful library right downtown, Julia Idison Library, that is going to be probably LEED Silver or Gold, or they're shooting for Gold. We have our new Houston Permitting Center at the bottom. Again, another retrofit. What's great about this is most people think Houston, everything's new. We demolish everything and build new. Well, the city is really, we've tried to not do that. We've tried to retrofit and renovate existing buildings and try to keep some of their historic structures to them. And this is an old rice warehouse that we retrofitted. All of our permitting functions in Houston are there now, which is fantastic, and it's LEED Gold. It demonstrates all kinds of amazing things, from green buildings to solar to wind turbines, rainwater harvesting. There's a vegetable garden on site. We have 13 pieces of art in the building from local artists. Our Green Building Resource Center is in there. It's 3 times as big as it was in the old building. So it's a very interactive building, a very alive building, and we're very, very proud of it. It just opened a few months ago. When it comes to the private sector now, the leadership that we did on the municipal side really has helped us on the private sector side, because we launched a program called the Houston Green Office Challenge. It's actually an award-winning program. We're the largest program in the country. We have over 400 participants now. And what's great about it is it includes building owners and managers as well as tenants. Real hard to get tenants to think that they can do anything or do anything, but we have managed to do that. About half of our participants are actually tenants. And we work with the owners and managers using Portfolio Manager. If they haven't become Energy Star, we try to get them Energy Star certified, work with them on LEED certification if that's what they want to do or haven't done that yet. So we use existing tools for them. We haven't recreated the wheel on that side. But on the tenant side, there weren't really any existing tools, so we created one with ICLEI, who was our major partner, and the Clinton Climate Initiative, created a tenant scorecard. And tenants are now able to kind of do all kinds of stuff in their actual spaces, their office spaces, to green their office spaces. So we're very proud of this program. It's led to a lot of successes. We have great stories, companies doing all kinds of things, with their tenants to their buildings, major things like solar, solar on the roofs, solar parking lots, all kinds of charging stations and energy efficiency improvements and more certifications. We just have a lot of great stories. And more are coming. We're actually working closely with NASA and the Johnson Space Center. They're our partner. This year, we're really kind of trying to focus on their buildings. We do educational webinars. We just had a webinar on transportation yesterday. And so we're real interactive with these folks, and we really provide technical assistance to help them. So Houston right now, we're teetering on being 4th in the country for the most LEED certified buildings of any city in the nation, which is pretty phenomenal when you think about it, because we don't have a mandate. We don't have legislation that requires these buildings to be LEED certified or to be a green building. The cities that are ahead of us in that number, they do have legislation. So for us to actually do this without legislation, but to do it with education and to work with the private sector to show them what can be done, to show them the energy savings, to talk to them about how young professionals want to work in green buildings. It helps them attract and retain employees. There's so many other economic benefits than just savings. The building owners are really getting it, and they're really wanting to be competitive in the market. And part of being competitive is having a green building. So we've been really, it's been successful, and we want to just continue it. Our challenge, we've been very good on Class A buildings. We've been good on municipal buildings. Where we have work to do are the smaller, older buildings, the Class B and C buildings. If you're from cities, you know this. This is the nut that's hard to crack. I've reached out to lots of other cities. They're also, it's a challenge for them as well. I don't think anyone has successfully cracked that nut, unless, of course, they have legislation. But we're trying. We have an energy efficiency incentive program, so we're trying to actually incentivize Class B and C building owners to do energy efficiency improvements and giving them some money to do that. So that's one way that we're trying to get them to actually do some of these improvements. But again, that's the area that we have more work to do. I want to switch to renewables for a minute. If you don't know, I like to say this all the time. We are the #1 municipal purchaser of renewable energy in the country. 33% of our energy comes from wind farms in West Texas. We've been taking advantage of Texas's amazing wind capacity. We have over 10,000 megawatts of wind now. I think that's going to be talked about a little bit later. It's a little known stat. If Texas were a country, we would have the 6th largest most wind production in the world. So don't get any ideas about becoming a country, but it's a great stat, and it's a great resource, and we've taken advantage of it. And we're actually going to increase our energy, our purchase to 50% for 2013. So 50% of our energy will come from wind. Other Texas cities are also doing great. Most of the leaders actually are in Texas and California. Texas because of wind, and California because of solar. So municipalities are taking advantage of their resources, and that's what's great. We try new things. We actually just put these wind turbines, they're literally just up, I think, as about a month ago. Got a grant from SECO to try out some new wind turbines and some solar on top of our Houston Permitting Center, the building I showed you earlier. So we're trying to do some interesting things. We've got interesting things around wind and solar. We also got a grant to try to encourage residences to put up solar. The solar hard costs have come down so dramatically. You could put solar on your house for half the cost you could about 2 years ago. But the soft costs tend to still be high, so we're trying to figure out ways to reduce those soft costs so we can reduce the cost even further and encourage people to put solar. We've got some interesting things going on around residential fuel cell, actually. We have a program we're hopefully going to launch in a couple weeks. It's a private developer that's worked with HARC and others. What we think that they're going to be able to do is put the first residential fuel cell into a home. So any fuel cells that exist today, they're commercial, they're larger. No one's really cracked the nut on a small one. And so there's a company in San Diego that this residential fuel cell box just got certified, and we are working with the developer. They're building homes in one of our neighborhoods, Independence Heights, to build affordable housing using this fuel cell technology. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that this will work. So we're trying to really kind of diversify and look at new technologies around energy. A couple other things around solar. We have a great partnership with the University of Houston. They have a program through their School of Architecture called the Green Buildings Components Program. They design all kinds of cool stuff that we work with them on. One of them is this solar-powered container office. Again, we got some great money from SECO. Really, the money was for emergency generators using solar. But University of Houston kind of turned that on its head and said, well, we'll create an emergency solar generator, but we want it to do more. So this has generation in the back of it. It's an old recycled shipping container. They put solar on it. It works off the grid. And when there's not an emergency, which is often, these pods can be used for all kinds of things. We put them at fire stations, parks, schools. Some of these are being used for outdoor curriculum at some of our schools. But they're a great resource for our neighborhood centers, et cetera, to actually use as an extra area to provide services to. So dual purpose, real excited about it. I'm going to leave buildings now, and I'm going to talk about transportation. We have a couple major initiatives, again, trying to particularly reduce in-city greenhouse gas emissions. Our electric vehicle initiative has been very, very significant. We have we've done a lot of work to try to promote electric vehicles, use electric vehicles. We actually have one of the largest electric vehicle fleets in the country. We have 40 electric and plug-in hybrids in our fleet today. We have a new program called Houston Fleet Share. It's the first electric municipal car sharing program. So we have now a car sharing software for our employees downtown, and we hope to expand that where they can now get a car out using a web-based system. And all of our electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids are in this pool of cars. We also have the third largest municipal hybrid fleet in the country. We have over 800 hybrids in our fleet. So we're really trying to show people that electric cars are viable means of transportation, that we really want to encourage their usage, not only on the car side, but on the infrastructure side. So we have worked very diligently to put electric vehicle charging stations throughout Houston. We have a couple partnerships with Ecotality, that's a nonprofit, NRG, large energy company in Houston. They actually made the first private sector commitment to public charging infrastructure in the country. They did it last year in Houston. So NRG has put level 2 and level 3 charging stations throughout Houston. They're also doing it in Dallas, and now they're expanding to California. And we also have a number of other companies also putting in charging stations, again, to give people comfort that when they buy these cars, they can charge up if they need to. We also have incentives for homeowners to put charging stations level 2s in their home. We have a 24-hour permitting system that makes it very easy for people. If they know they're going to buy an electric car that day, they can get permitted for a charging station in their home very, very quickly, all done online. So we're trying to do a ton of things to encourage this new technology and make it actually work. Biking. This is actually another area that we have spent a lot of time on really recently, actually. We have a number of major initiatives that we've launched in the last year and will continue to launch to really try to encourage people to bike and walk more. We have bike share now in Houston. By the end of the year, early next year, we should have 225 bikes and over 25 kiosks, which will be fantastic. San Antonio also has a bike share program. I think ours might be a little bit larger than theirs once ours is fully implemented, but we both have really, really good programs. We're trying to put in bike lanes throughout Houston. We got a federal grant, the first time we've ever received a federal grant for bike trails. We're building a $15 million grant to build on-street and off-street bike trails in Houston. And we have a very significant initiative on our ballot. It's called Parks by You. But the name that's the campaign name. The name of the initiative is called the Bayou Greenway. So if you get the Parks by You little tagline, it's kind of fun. So the Bayou Greenway is finally Houston is taking advantage of this beautiful natural resource that we have. Our 11 bayous that run throughout our city. We have not really spent any time on them at all. We've had, they've been either covered up, concreted over, or no access to them, no recreation. And finally, we are opening them up. We are providing access building hike and bike trails. We want recreation on the bayous. We're cleaning up the water quality in the bayous. It's a multi-million-dollar, multi-year initiative to really, really make this an amazing asset for Houston. It's starting in Buffalo Bayou, for those of you that know Houston. We're putting $50 million right into that area to create all kinds of new amenities, while at the same time maintaining the habitat and making sure that we, we maintain the native habitat there and don't hurt it in any way. So another great, alternative transportation. We really kind of want to create a green highway in Houston, because these bayou trails run through the city. They don't, there's like many other cities that have tried to do this. There might be rings around the city, or be kind of like, not in the heart of the city. These bayous run through the heart of the city and run through many neighborhoods. So we really could create a green highway where people could use them to commute to their different work centers. So it's a huge vision. We're starting now, and real excited about its potential. The other thing we're doing, Houston also, to encourage public transportation, we're building 3 new rail lines in Houston, which is great. We don't have a very robust public rail system. We have a great bus system, but we don't have a great rail system. We are now finally actually building more rail lines in Houston. So when you couple, rail with biking, with some of these other initiatives, we're really trying to encourage people to get to work in other ways. And people want to. What's great is that we have a professor out of Rice University who does a survey of Houston's beliefs and opinions every single year. He's done it for 30 years. For the first time in 30 years, in this survey, more people said that they want to live in an urban area in Houston as opposed to a suburban area. And that's actually a huge shift for us. That means that people do want to live closer to where they work, play, eat, shop, etc. So the more things that we can give people to actually get around and be closer in and not have to commute so many miles, the better it's going to be for the environment and the better quality of life people are going to have. So it's not just anecdotal that we think people want these things. It's actually showing up in the numbers, which is great for us. Green infrastructure, we have an initiative called Rebuild Houston that passed a couple years ago. It's about rebuilding our streets, trying to reduce flooding, stormwater incidents. We're trying to incorporate green infrastructure into this initiative, all kinds of things, all kinds of different LID techniques we're going to hopefully incorporate into our streets. We're also looking at complete streets. For the first time, Houston is actually looking at our roads more than just for cars. So we have a great number of great projects. In fact, I just visited one yesterday in our Midtown neighborhood that's we're putting bike lanes, bulb outs, we're putting green infrastructure, more lighting, wider sidewalks, all in the effort to try to kind of change the street, still allow cars, but also make sure that it's available and accessible and inviting for pedestrians and bicyclists and families, et cetera. So really, again, trying to kind of change the way we view our streets. And again, slowing traffic down, also is good for not only quality of life, but it's also good for the environment. Number of other initiatives, real quickly. We have a really robust food initiative, a local food initiative. We have an urban garden initiative. Again, trying to encourage people to grow local, buy local. The more that people do that, obviously, the less truck trips we have of bringing food in and trying to encourage that. We have a farmer's market in front of City Hall. We've got a neighborhood garden and allotment garden program we're launching next month. So we're really trying to encourage this. We have an initiative called Healthy Houston that's all about encouraging people to get more physical exercise and eat healthier. And we launched that also a couple months ago. So a lot of different initiatives try to get people out and be healthy. The last thing I'll talk about is recycling and composting. Houston is not a leader in recycling. We're doing a little bit better on composting, but we need to do better. And we don't have full single stream recycling for our residents. But one idea we've been working very hard on, and we do actually think this has greenhouse gas emission reduction potential, is an idea that instead sort of turns recycling on its head. Instead of having the individual source separate at the household level, which is what every city really tries to do, because that's what we've been taught for so many years, We are looking at new technologies and new process systems that could actually take all of your material stream, every single thing, take it to a facility, look at it, and be able to decide if that can be reused or not. And what's great about that, if it can work, we're still working on it, is that it takes away, millions of decisions that individuals have to make every day about what should be recycled or not, and it actually allows technology to do that. Because if you don't put, aluminum can in your recycle bin, you put it in your trash bin, it goes straight to the landfill and it never sees the light of day again. That's how these systems work. But instead, if you put everything into one stream, and you could actually get call out every piece of recycled material, reusable material, get every bit of food waste out of there and either compost it or put it in a digester and turn it into methane gas, you could have diversion rates upwards of 75 or 80%. We've done a bunch of research on this. We have some partners. We're doing a lot more work on this initiative. It may or may not work, but we're going to try to go down the road here and see if it can. We think the technology can work. We're still working on the financial piece of it. But for us, we have 3 or 4 truck routes that pick up everything from, garbage to recycling to yard waste to heavy trash. If we can reduce those truck trips, right, and we can reduce the amount of waste that we put in a landfill, we're reducing, obviously, greenhouse gas emissions. We're reducing methane in the landfill, so we're improving our air quality. So we really view this initiative as not only lowering diversion, extending your landfill life, but actually improving public health. So just to close, we do not want Houston to look like this. This is not our vision of Houston. This is our vision of Houston, a thriving economy with a beautiful bayou, green bayou, lots of opportunity for recreation, high quality of life, while also still having a strong economy. And we believe that a lot of the initiatives that I've mentioned today, we're on our way to get there. So please follow the work that we do. Green Houston TX is our handle. We're very active on social media, and we try to get out all of our materials that way. We also have a lot of websites that talk about everything I just talked about, from our main website, greenhoustontx.gov. Houston Green Office Challenge is a great website. Our bike share, electric vehicle, and Code Green Houston is our green building program, and all of our building initiatives are there. So thank you so much for being here this morning. I really look forward to getting to know more of you that I don't know, talking to those of you that I do, and just sharing more information throughout this morning. Thanks again.